I think it's important that being a Lebanon Yellowjacket means more than being whatever my sport is, so.
Well, you mentioned team events. I know you guys just went to Drury, last week?
Yes.
And watched Quentin. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
What was that like? And you can speak for players, but like, how important was that as a coach? Like, what is your reasoning behind that? I understand what it probably is, but I want to hear it from you.
So first and foremost, I wanted Quentin to know that, he's a Lebanon Yellowjacket and we're there for him and we see what he's doing and we appreciate him. And, he's a legendary player. He's the all-time leading scorer in our program. And we haven't had very many kids play at that high of a level. And so we wanted to go make him feel supported. And then obviously you want to do things to get the team, connected and bonding. And each season is its own unique group. And so those opportunities need to be there. And then the third thing we wanted them to see was, how does a college team at that high of a level do it? So I can emphasize things in practice and tell them and show them how important it is on film. But when you go to watch a team like Drury play live and you can see their communication level defensively, you can see how high level athletes they are. And it gives our kids another taste of, okay, that's what the next level looks like. And maybe not even just the next level in college, but how do I get my game to the next level where maybe I can communicate better defensively? You don't see Drury not hitting a box out, or not talking on defense. And so they can learn a lot from just watching that process.
Welcome to Jacket Talk on LEB TV.
My name is Jaysha Connor, owner and nurse practitioner here at Ginger Wellness. I believe that sometimes healthcare does too much, and I believe that's where wellness centers can really bridge that gap and really give people some confidence in natural ways, healthier ways, to really improve quality of life and to get healthy.
We want to feel better and live better lives. It's not about quantity, it's a lot about quality of your life.
Ginger Wellness is where I went to get my quality of life back.
How much has your bank paid you? We've paid our Kasasa account holders more than $7 million since 2017. Open an account in minutes to get in on the earnings today. You shouldn't have to give up the hometown bank experience to enjoy modern convenience. Just check our Google reviews about our in-person, online, and mobile banking experiences. Open an account in minutes today.
What's going on? Ramsey Stewart, Jacket Nation Sports and LEB TV. And today I'm sitting down with Coach Toombs of Lebanon Basketball. How are you, Coach?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. It's almost Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Winter season, winter sports are kind of kicking off, and I'm excited for a couple days off. Do you eat turkey?
Sure. I'm more of a ham guy myself.
Same.
I'll eat it.
I asked it on Facebook last night, but mashed potatoes, lumpy or smooth?
I like lumpy.
Skin on or skin off?
Oh, man. Off.
Okay. At least you like them lumpy. I don't.
Brown gravy too.
No, see, I don't. I'm not a brown gravy person. There's sometimes I'll do some brown gravy, but just give me good flavored mashed potatoes and they don't need anything.
Okay. Yeah, like garlic mashed potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those are good.
My daughter puts ranch in hers. I don't do that. Yeah.
No, that sounds different.
You looking forward to Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah. We just had practice this morning. It's our last practice for a while. We give them a little bit of a break. The unique thing about the high school basketball season is it does take us through Thanksgiving break, through Christmas break. So any chance we get to give the kids some time off, we try to do that. So we practiced until 10 this morning, and then we'll come back Saturday at 7 p.m. so that they get kind of an extended block of time with family. And, Christmas, we've got the blue and gold tournament. So Thanksgiving's kind of our opportunity to allow for a lot more family time.
You guys also had a little bit of a break in the schedule. Last week was the Jamboree at Rolla.
Yep.
And then after Thanksgiving break, you jump right into the Forsyth tournament. So
yeah. And the nice thing about having that early Jamboree is it gets us kind of exposed to some competition other than ourselves early in the season, and then we can evaluate where we're at, and then we've got a lot more time as we head into our first game between the Jamboree and our first game to adjust.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I know we are going to kind of kick off the basketball season with that home opener against Camden. We're looking forward to that.
Yep.
Purple's coming to town on Friday the 13th. So that's going to be it should be a fun atmosphere in Boswell Auditorium, right?
Yeah, it always is. Camdenton game, it really, you can throw out records or past experiences against the opponent. It's a rivalry game, and everybody kind of knows the deal there. It's you better bring your best, your A game or whatever you want to call it to that game, because like last year at the time we played them, we were in a little bit better spot than they were. But man, they were beating us at halftime. We had to kind of come back and eventually pulled away. But every single time Lebanon plays Camdenton, throw everything else out the door, and you better be ready to go. So we're also going to have, on that night, we're going to recognize our Popcorn youth basketball players and bring them down on the floor at halftime and give those kids a chance to experience a great atmosphere in Boswell.
Yeah, they're gonna get probably the perfect night to do it. I'm sure you time that out accordingly.
It's always our first home game, and with joining the new conference, we obviously had to do some realignment of our own schedule, not just realigning conferences. We had to, with 13 conference games, we get 3, maybe 4 non-conference if you take out tournaments. So Camdenton was the one we really wanted to keep, and it was their turn to come to Lebanon, and it just happened to work out. So, the Popcorn youth basketball players will get in free that night and hopefully bring their parents and pack out the stadium.
Well, we're looking forward to it. And we'll get in later on. We'll get into more of what to expect this season. But I want to take a few minutes and just get to know you, a little bit about your history, kind of your family. So what do you want to share with us?
Well, I'm from Bolivar originally, grew up there, went to school there all 13 years, K through 12. And, I think you really are influenced by where you grow up. And I was fortunate to grow up in a place where, I had a lot of people investing in me as far as coaches. And so what got me into coaching was I had several mentors, especially in high school. I played for a guy who's going to be Hall of Fame soccer coach, and Steve Fast. And then I got to play for a guy who should be a Hall of Fame football coach, and Lance Roten. And then played high school basketball for Chuck Blair. Yep.
I thought so.
He was obviously incredible. And then my JV coach was Robbie Hoig, who's been the head coach since Chuck Blair retired. Chuck retired after my senior year, and then Robbie took over and has been there since. And Coach Hoig was a big mentor in my life. He taught social studies and coached basketball, and obviously I chose the same path. So his influence over me was huge, and it's really kind of surreal coaching on the opposite sideline as him, which I've done now a few times. And then, I had Coach Stallings, who's an administrator and has been at Fairgrove. He was my baseball coach. And then great track coaches, Vicki Newcomb and Daniel Bayless, and just had a lot of positive influences. And that kind of shaped me and directed me into my path as a teacher and a coach. And, I'm a Yellowjacket now, but there's always going to be a special place there in Bolivar for the Liberators, unless we're playing against them.
That Liberator, that program has produced some. First one that comes to mind, Scott Brakebill, right?
Oh yeah, that was the guy I watched when I was 6, 7 years old.
Right.
That really
Tall.
kind of got me enamored with basketball.
Wasn't he like 6'8", 6'9"?
I think he was even taller than that. But yeah, he like 6'9", 6'10",
Yeah.
and he was so good. They won 3 blue and gold tournaments
Right.
with him there. And
Went on to play at Missouri State.
yep, and went to the Sweet 16
Yeah.
the last time they were in the tournament in
Danny
'99.
Moore,
Yeah.
Fauntleroy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a big. He had a role on that team. I think he came off the bench and, or even maybe started and
Yeah.
had a great year. But so that kind of influenced me and got me interested in basketball, watching those teams play under Darren Archer and who's now the girls coach there now.
Right.
Just went back. But as far as family, I got my first teaching job in El Dorado Springs and actually met my wife, Jera, who a lot of the listeners know is a high school English teacher here.
Yep.
And through a mutual friend. And I actually knew who she was because she went to Bolivar in kindergarten and first grade and was in the same class as my brother.
Okay.
And so I knew the family and knew who she was, and we met, and the rest is history. We've got 3 kids, my stepson Isaiah, who's a freshman, and then 8-year-old son is Emmett. Emmett loves all things sports,
Right.
just like me. And then Raina, our daughter, is 4, and she's kind of the mini version of Jera. And it's funny to see how all the kids are different. And we're just blessed to be in a community similar as, Lebanon's got some similarities to Bolivar. The values are similar. Faith is very important. Family is very important. And so we're really happy to be Lebanon Yellowjackets.
So I'm a girl dad.
Mm-hmm.
Best friend's a girl dad.
Yeah.
We weren't fortunate to get any boys, which fortunately I enjoy being girl dad, but boys or girls, which one's easier or better? If you could.
Girls are easier.
Okay.
I think probably because of my background in sports. Raina hasn't really got into sports yet. I think it might come as she gets older.
Yeah.
I actually didn't get involved in sports until I was 6 or 7.
Okay.
And so there's still time, but like Emmett and Isaiah, they've been into sports. And so it's easier to connect a little bit. But I've played dolls or whatever with
You got your
Raina.
nails done yet?
No, but I've I got made fun of the other day because I know all the words to the Frozen soundtrack, but it's like comes with the territory of being a girl dad. So
Are you guys a Bluey family?
we watch it some. It's not like our
What's
main
the
thing.
go-to?
Oh gosh, well for Emmett, it's Chiefs football and
Okay.
Cardinals baseball. For Raina, Disney, just any Disney movie, princesses.
If you could press Disney Plus, you're good.
Yeah, she's gonna find something she wants to watch.
Yeah.
Now there's a little bit of a battle there between brother and sister on
Oh yeah.
who gets to pick because he doesn't want to watch Frozen or Moana.
It doesn't change when you have a 19-year-old and a 5-year-old either, because they still battle.
right?
And so I'm used to it. But so let's talk. You mentioned you've been in basketball and you mentioned some of your mentors, but I want to get into your coaching style, your philosophy, kind of how you go about building this program.
Well, I mean, I got to coach when I was an assistant here. I coached under Adam Thornhill, who was very invested in the youth, and so I got a unique perspective of exactly Lebanon basketball and how unique of a place this is when it comes to in relationship to the teams that we play, like in Springfield, where in Springfield kids have however many different travel basketball programs to choose from, and they're right there in their backyard. They've got skills trainers that they've got access to every day of the week, and then you also have parks around every corner that have basketball courts that they can show up to and find a pickup game. And so Lebanon having to compete with teams like that was a unique challenge, and I observed that firsthand when I got to be an assistant here with Coach Thornhill. And so to answer your question about how to go about building this program, it gave me an opportunity to see the vision of giving kids in Lebanon that maybe not the exact same opportunities as what they've got in Springfield, but used to, if you were a Lebanon kid that loved basketball and wanted to play a lot, you'd have to pay a bunch of money and go to Springfield and travel. And that means 2 or 3 nights a week for practice, games. And our kids will still travel for games. But when we got here, we really wanted to start a local program that could give kids similar opportunities. And so we're fortunate that you're probably familiar with Jordan Walton and what he's doing with the lab. So we kind of put a board in place, and Lebanon Association of Basketball was born, and Coach Walton has taken that by the horns and ran with it. And so now our kids have a skills trainer, and we're able to have teams that are tied to an organization that has a board and there's a structure, and it's just been really good. I've seen a lot of growth in our high school players from training with him. And so we're trying to bridge the gap between what Lebanon basketball has been and our program moving forward and giving kids opportunities to train. And then as far as my coaching style, I've tried to always be adaptable to my personnel. If I could pick, I want to play fast. I want to put pressure on the ball defensively and speed the game up and make it, I think the game should be fun,
right?
And it should not necessarily be entertaining for the crowd, but there is an element of that involved, but also just fun for the kids to play fast and go compete.
So as you mentioned the lab, and previous to that, you mentioned popcorn basketball. How important is that, and how are you able to kind of start it? Like, as if I'm a parent watching this and I've got a son or a daughter that's interested in playing basketball, right? Like, what are they doing at a young age that's equivalent to what the guys on the high school team are doing, or how are you kind of bringing that process or that standard into it?
Well, when they get to high school, at the level of basketball, we're a Class 6 school, so they better have some fundamentals established.
Right.
There's a certain level of kind of a base that they need to have from a skills and fundamental standpoint in order to compete at the level we're going to have to play. So you really have to start establishing that at a young age. And so, I've already had 2 practices with our 2nd and 3rd graders this past week, and it was all just basics. Fundamentals, footwork, what's a defensive stance look like? How do you bounce the ball? How do you dribble, and what are some things we can work on within that framework? What does it look like to shoot the ball with one hand instead of chuck it from the chest,
Right.
And that's something we've been working with them on, if we're lucky, if the kids have been involved since they were preschool or kindergartners, and that we build on that foundation year after year after year until they get to the high school level. And I've coached our current freshman class. I coached a lot of them in kindergarten and 1st grade when I was an assistant. And hopefully soon we're going to reap the benefits of them, having that foundation and getting to the high school level and being ready to go.
When does it start separating? Is it pretty universal or pretty uniform? Like, that 7th grade year, 5th grade year, do you start to see a trend where it kind of clicks for some of these athletes and what's going on, or is it still a work in progress?
So one of the biggest challenges is just making sure they keep playing, and trying to make it fun. And we do a lot of things in our program to make it an experience, not just it can become a job.
Right.
But to answer your question, 7th grade is a big separator. A lot of kids decide in 7th grade, are we going to try out for basketball? You know, and if you get them at tryouts, that's the first time we have to make a cut. You know, you only have so many jerseys, and you've got to decide who is able to make the A and the B team in 7th grade and 8th grade. So middle school is a separator, and then a lot of kids, when they get to freshman year, now it's another decision. Are we going to commit to the high school basketball season, which is longer, requires more dedication, and then freshman to sophomore year is crucial. We want to keep them freshman to sophomore year so they can really start to grow, especially mentally and physically. You know, now they're going to start to physically grow, but then mentally they're going to learn a lot more as they get into, you know, the varsity JV practices and game planning and film study and all those things. Now, our junior high coaches do a great job of film study as well. We get freshmen in our film sessions as well, but when you're in the gym every day, varsity versus JV and those types of practices, it's where you see a lot of separators. Mainly what we tell kids is the biggest separator in high school or in basketball is when they get to high school, how bad do they want to work outside of just practice?
Right.
And I've seen a lot of kids in my 8 years as a head coach separate themselves with those unseen hours.
Right. Are you seeing, I want to kind of compare and contrast. You mentioned 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing change in basketball and in the student athlete in those 8 years? Because, you know, we talked about it before we started this, like there's so much hitting these kids at all times, whether it's social media, whether it's pressure from parents, whether it's, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend issues, whatever you mean, they're constantly bombarded with it. Mm-hmm. So how are you seeing the difference now and how you're coping or relating to those student athletes versus when you started?
Well, I'll go back to when I played. You know, when I played, I graduated in 2008, and there was still an element of just, you know, okay, it's football or soccer season, and I'm in that season, and then it's basketball season, and now I'm playing basketball, mm-hmm. and then it's, you know, baseball or track or whatever, and I'm doing that. And like at Bolivar, which is a little bit smaller school, I was able to do 5 my senior year, and I had coaches, you know, working together to make that happen, and you had to give and take, and I think at Lebanon we do a good job of that, but there's a little bit taken away from just being a high school student and a high school student athlete, and from, you know, I think I mentioned it when we were just visiting before, like a Link Academy or IMG Academy or these travel ball organizations that really, that's where a lot of the pressure comes from to get recruited and things like that. And we just try to communicate with our kids that, you know, if you're good enough to get recruited, we'll take these steps and we'll reach out to coaches, and you need to be going to camps and reaching out, and we'll do highlight videos and things like that. But we really try to encourage our kids to enjoy the experience of being a high school athlete, because you don't get it again. And we were talking the other day before practice, you know, a guy like Kirk Cousins, who they just interviewed him recently about, you know, his career. And he even said, like, you can't beat the game-winning 2-point conversion for your school.
Right. There's just
in front of your
it.
family and friends. Right. It's unattainable. And you see so many athletes say something like that. Right. You know, like Kevin Durant won an NBA title, and he said, I thought it would change me, and I don't feel any different.
Right.
And you can't get that back. And so we really do emphasize to our kids, you get one high school experience, and we encourage them to play. Now, our sport's not any different than any other sport where they pick one. Right. And not everybody's situation is mine, but I was very fortunate to get to play anything and everything I wanted to play. Cross-country coach even asked me to run my senior year. I kind of drew the line there, but it's different, and it's hard to embrace that, because you know that as a college athlete, it's just not the same.
It's not. And that we talked with Jax a couple of weeks ago about, and I even said it, like there's that Friday night lights football feel, you can't replicate it. I'm sure you can't. And from a basketball, I didn't play basketball my junior and senior year, but I remember sophomore year, and played JV, but I remember being in the auditorium and what it felt like.
The atmosphere.
And the atmosphere. And there's, you can't recreate that, but you can also use that in your adult life, which is, it's a weird thing. And I don't know that this isn't a slide at you or any other coach, but I don't know that we ever really explain that in a way that they can relate to, but we just want them to experience it, like you said. So it's a different thing. And I'm always curious, do you feel like it's the football team is taking on that me versus me mentality with what happened and
the bracelet on right here.
Yeah. And do you feel like in the basketball program or in students in general, like I versus we, do you see that, or do you feel like it's changing?
I think there's good to being future focused, and worried about your own future, but you really want, like dude, when I was in high school, I was a liberator, and that meant something. And I think it means something in Lebanon too. But I tell my guys, you're not a basketball player before you're a Yellowjacket. You're representing our school, you're representing our community, and you don't get to just be, you're a student, you need to represent the Lebanon Yellowjackets well. And that's why, football, we took our kids, our basketball team to the district championship game, ended practice early. We want to support football, and, we'll have players play baseball, and we'll go to, I encourage them to go to the games and support each other. So I think it's important that being a Lebanon Yellowjacket means more than being whatever my sport is, so.
Well, you mentioned team events. I know you guys just went to Drury, last week?
Yes.
And watched Quentin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
What was that like? And you can speak for players, but like, how important was that as a coach? Like, what is your reasoning behind that? I understand what it probably is, but I want to hear it from you.
So first and foremost, I wanted Quentin to know that, he's a Lebanon Yellowjacket, and we're there for him, and we see what he's doing, and we appreciate him. And, he's a legendary player. He's the all-time leading scorer in our program, and we haven't had very many kids play at that high of a level. And so we wanted to go make him feel supported. And then obviously you want to do things to get the team, connected and bonding. And each season is its own group, unique group. And so those opportunities need to be there. And then the third thing we wanted them to see was, how does a college team at that high of a level do it? So I can emphasize things in practice and tell them and show them how important it is on film. But when you go to watch a team like Drury play live, and you can see their communication level defensively, you can see how high level athletes they are. And it gives our kids another taste of, okay, that's what the next level looks like. And maybe not even just the next level in college, but how do I get my game to the next level where maybe I can communicate better defensively? You don't see Drury not hitting a box out, or not talking on defense. And so they can learn a lot from just watching that process.
Well, you could see it in the picture you posted, like just back to that kind of family. And I know it helps those freshmen kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But they're not that far off. And even, we've had some students talk about that it goes by in the blink of an eye. You take for granted what you're building as a teammate, as a Yellowjacket, in addition to the skills that you're learning, pushing yourself, trying new things. So it was really cool to see that group, because I don't know, we probably don't see it in football as much, but I think like we talked about, I think you mentioned to me 7% of all high school basketball players play in college. So they can reach out and touch that. They can see and feel and understand. And then they can, you know, on one hand, we talked about you can't recreate the experience of a Friday night in Boswell Auditorium, but you can figure out like another level or another example and a similarity of that. So it's really cool.
Well, and I think probably one of the things our kids were shocked about is the fact that, I mean, and I know jury's probably on fall break, so this is not a shot at their student section or whatever, but like we'll have more people at our first home game than there was at that game. And so you talk about atmosphere, probably the realization that, okay, being a college athlete, not only is it a full-time job, but like it doesn't come with, again, that feeling of, well, my brothers aren't here in the stands, you know, anymore. And so, again, that's one of the reasons we did is we wanted Quentin to know, hey, there's this whole group of people that still, you know, want to support you. But also, I had, you know, one player, I was waiting on them to get picked up after we came back from that. And he's like, that's my first college game ever.
Right.
And that just kind of hit me like, wow, I wasn't even thinking along those terms, but it's like the opportunity to even get to do that. Not everybody, you know, is blessed to have parents that are going to take them to watch professional or college sporting events. And so that was kind of cool to just be, you know, as a program, be the reason that somebody got to do that.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, we don't want students to take for granted, but you're sitting here saying as a coach, like you kind of took for granted that happens. And I never would have thought about that, you know, if it's in my normal life to go to sporting events. But, you know, when you're especially a freshman, sophomore who's looking up and going, am I ever going to get there?
Well, and we, to the atmosphere point of like a Boswell Auditorium high school game or football game, there's kids on our team this year that still haven't, you know, not just freshmen, but sophomores and juniors that we ended up keeping this year that have yet to experience that, or a transfer that's yet to experience it. And so I'm really excited to see them get those experiences for the first time and see how they respond.
I want to get into a few coaching philosophies.
Okay.
This one's got a little bit of recency bias, but I was following along on Twitter last night. Konzo Martin. How am I supposed to say it?
Konzo, I think.
Konzo. Previous coach at Missouri State, goes on, does a couple other things, coaches at Mizzou's, back at Missouri State. Last night they played Boston College. And this is twice now it's happened to him. So I'm going to ask how you would handle it.
Okay.
Fouling up 3. Do you foul or do you not foul? Up 3 with 10 seconds left.
At the Division I level, yeah, I would foul.
But in high school?
It would be pretty dependent on, you know, who we're playing.
Right.
You know, like we just played Rolla. They got a kid, Ethan Brown. Like, I don't want him to get a 3-point attempt off.
Right.
You know, and tie the game. I'd probably try to foul. Where's the ball? Is the ball in the backcourt, like under their basket? And they've got to go. Like I was watching the UConn-Memphis game, and Memphis fouled up 3.
Yeah.
And UConn has some elite 3-point shooters, but UConn also had to throw the ball in and go 94 feet.
Right.
So they had time to foul. If you get into a sideline out of bounds situation and they're going to run a set to try to catch and shoot 3, if you try to foul and they get that shot off, now you fouled a 3-point shooter, which defeats the purpose.
Right.
So, depending on where the ball is, depending on the personnel of our opponent, I would, you know, like there was a time, I can't remember which game it was, where I thought about it. Like me and Coach Hicks and Coach Thornhill were like talking, should we foul here? And I think it was Coach Hicks was like, I'd be really concerned that you foul the guy trying to shoot the 3.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, that's probably right. And so high school game, where the ball is, you know, who they have. If they have an elite 3-point shooter, that's probably who they're going to try to throw it to. We probably want to foul that kid before he can get it off. But for the most part, hopefully you can defend it well enough not to give one up.
Now, because I brought up Konzo because the previous game he didn't foul up 3 and it worked out.
Yep.
This game he didn't foul. They hit a 3 to tie it in regulation to send it to overtime. So he had.
Well, at least he was consistent with this philosophy.
He did talk about that in a post game interview from the first ones. He was like, "Typically, I don't," and he kind of explained it the same way you did. There's a lot you can't just base it on up 3 clock.
Right.
It's there's so many different things,
and you got to know we tell our kids, this is somebody I didn't mention that was a big mentor to me was Jeff Guillot. He was the SBU coach for 10 years when I was in high school, and him and me and his son are good friends, but he had a deal. He would always say KYP, which is know your personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And as a coach, more than any, we tell our players, know your personnel, know your personnel. Like things like, should I kick the ball out to a guy who can't hit threes if he's, or should I pass it to the kid who can't catch, whatever, or should I go score versus should I pass it to the other player that can maybe score better than I can. So knowing your own personnel, knowing your abilities and each other's abilities. But he's probably also considering, what is the rebounding situation going to be like on those free throws? Like for us, we're not very tall.
right?
And so if I foul, even though I'm up 3, I might give up an offensive rebound on that free throw if they're trying to miss it on purpose, and that's their strategy. So there's other things, like he said, that come into play.
So you'll probably answer this with KYP, but I got to ask this too: zone or man? Typically,
I prefer man. For the reason I just mentioned, is in man you can know who you're supposed to block out.
Gotcha.
And so defending and rebounding kind of go hand in hand. Zone is a little bit harder to rebound out of if you don't have really good size and length,
Right.
because there's gaps. There's like set gaps where people know what to crash. They can crash those gaps on a shot and kind of get inside position and take the ball.
So if you do have to run a zone or choose to run a zone, is it 2-3, box and 1, 1-3-1? What's your go-to with this team?
Well, with this team, it would probably have to be a 2-3 if we had to switch it up. And we'd probably have to extend a little bit if we pack it in. The shooters are so good now from the 3-point line and the level that we play. Nixa, Kickapoo, Glendale, all these Springfield schools are going to have some guys that can really fill it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you get too conservative in your zone, you're going to give up some looks. And so we like to, if we're going to be in a zone, we're going to take our man principles and kind of just extend them out.
Gotcha. Press.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I get my pick of my personnel, we're gonna go fast. We're gonna put pressure on you. We're gonna make you go fast, and we're gonna play that way. Now, here of late, just in relation to our opponents, we face a lot of teams with a lot of quickness and ability to go a little bit faster and jump a little bit higher than we've been able to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. You just adapt. So we've, the last 3 years, run a lot of zone press back into man, a pretty conservative kind of man. It's called pack line. Any coach listening is going to be familiar with what it is, so I'm not giving away any trade secrets. And to that point, the coaches in Southwest Missouri basketball are so good.
Oh yeah.
They always know all your plays, and they know exactly what you're trying to do to them, and that makes it kind of fun but really challenging. And so, I'm not telling any secrets to say we run a 2-2-1 back in a pack line. Probably every coach that's coached against me the past 3 years already knows that. And that's because the coaching is really high level around here. And but yeah, that's kind of what we've done. And the reasoning behind that is a conservative 2-2-1 box press makes the opponent evaluate and pass the ball instead of trying to beat you off the dribble and take gaps and break you down and kick it out or get all the way to the rim. And that's been successful. It's allowed us to compete with some really, really good teams. We change things out of that. Sometimes we'll go man and mix defenses, which can, again, slow your opponent down.
Right.
And I'll be transparent with you. We are changing that this year, and it'll be high pace and fun to watch. And not that the way we played before wasn't, but defensively it was. It was trying to neutralize the athleticism of our opponents in ways that maybe a typical fan couldn't see, but was definitely the idea.
Well, and you mentioned coaches knowing and everybody. Coach Rogers, the wrestling coach, sat down with us, and he was talking about how there really are no secrets anymore. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all those things. When I was a player, you sent a coach to scout a game. They came back with a little VHS C tape, and you watched it. But
I've done that before.
Now
it's been a while, but I've done that before.
It's all there. What we do and stream, there could be coaches kind of scouting that sort of thing, and so you don't really have that element of surprise necessarily anymore, right?
Right, and so you have to take what you do and make little tweaks that they don't see coming. That's why game planning is so important. You've got to, if they're going to be scouting you that hard, you've got to scout just as hard and make sure you're prepared as a coach and preparing your players as a group. And, I don't know, like the Rolla game last year, the Brown kid that was so talented. I mean, we're face guarding him, but on top of that, they knew that was coming. It had happened to him several times. We're switching any screen set for him too. So we tell the guys in shoot around, like, everybody's going to get a shot at him, right? So take advantage of your opportunity. And it happened to be successful. Thankfully, their other guys weren't hot that night because they've got a lot of them that can shoot. Yeah. But sometimes it's pick your poison. Other times it's, you're just adjusting to your opponent.
Well, I got a few more things for you. One, I want to get into this season, and then I've got a couple of last questions I want to run by you. But give me an idea of, one, back up a little bit. What is your ultimate coaching philosophy as far as how you approach coaching in general?
I think it's important to realize why we do this. It is about the kids, and our philosophy as a team has been the same since I got here. We use the word life because basketball is really just a tool that, hopefully in its own way prepares the kids for life. There's a lot of adversity that's going to be faced and challenges and mistakes made, and how do you respond to those? And, things way more important than basketball, things like marriage, things like being a dad. And, nobody's perfect in those realms, but hopefully by teaching life lessons through basketball, they take something away from being part of our program that prepares them better for that life aspect. So that's why we chose that word. And from there, just like Coach Christian or any coach likes to do, we made an acronym out of it. And we tried to pick words that represent, things that matter in life. So the L stands for love. We really believe that there needs to be a love for what you're doing. We're playing basketball. Hopefully you love it, but also love for each other in the locker room, understanding things like as coaches, we're going to coach them hard. And it's not personal. It's because we care about their success, both on the court and off the court. And there's accountability and discipline, things like that. But I think like if you're a good parent, there's accountability and discipline. Doesn't mean it's not love.
Right.
So we tell them the truth. We tell them, hard things, and we coach them hard, but we love them. And hopefully they, maybe not when they're a senior or junior or teenage kid, but it's like, hey, Coach Blair would get on me pretty hard. And that's hard to take as a teenage kid, but 5 years from now, hopefully they appreciate what we're trying to do. And then the I stands for intentionality, having a purpose for why you're, what you're doing. The F stands for fight. And, you have to clarify that when you're telling junior high kids,
right.
Like, okay, we don't actually want you like trying to fight people, but really it's more situations, are you going to fight through the adversity, or are you going to fold? And we really want them to fight. And, you're going to see us inevitably we're going to be down in games. Sometimes we're going to be down big, and how do our kids respond? And hopefully they're fighting no matter what the scoreboard says, up or down 30, whatever. And then enthusiasm, which I think is important, because if you can't bring enthusiasm to whatever you're doing, why are you doing it?
Right.
And so we try to, as coaches, bring enthusiasm to the gym every day. And again, kind of like the love piece, enthusiasm isn't some fake rah, good job.
Right.
Sometimes it's, hey, you need to do better, and you're going to say it in a way that conveys the importance of how much better they need to do it.
So we got love, intentionality, fight, and encouragement.
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Encouragement's good too.
It works.
We've used, effort. There's a lot of E's.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of words that start with E, but enthusiasm is what we went with, just because that's got that kind of, when you're around somebody that has enthusiasm, it. They're excited. They're excited to be there. They're excited for life, and we want them to be excited about playing basketball.
When I played Coach Payne, it was no negative seconds. That was his big thing.
He's got a lot.
Kiss, beef, and negative seconds.
Keep it simple, stupid. Balance, elbow, eyes, follow through.
I think it was balance.
Eyes, elbow.
I think either way. But he was a big BJ Armstrong fan.
Okay.
So that was one of the videos we watched. So
I got Jackie Payne-isms all day, like be quick but don't hurry.
Yeah.
That's one that we're telling our kids right now.
I got a Coach Herman or Coach Hermanism. Were you ever familiar with Coach Herman?
No.
He always said integrity. It was just always integrity, no matter what you do, always integrity. But let's get into this season. What can fans expect for this season coming up?
Well, we're kind of in a transition period of, the conference realignment. We were in the Ozark Conference for, probably 20 years or more. And now with, I think West Plains and Bolivar leaving, and then, basically the Ozark Conference dissolving, we needed a home. And I think Coach Christian and Dr. Schmitz did a good job of making sure we weren't independent and kind of on an island trying to find games. That would have been tough. And, as tough as the Central Ozark Conference is going to be on the court, I did not want that scheduling nightmare.
Right.
And so we're lucky that we're in a conference and that it's a local conference. Now there's going to be a little bit more travel just because of the western side of the state having teams in the league. But, on the bright side of that, it's going to push us. Like I said before, we're Class 6. And so that means when we get to districts, you're not playing anybody.
You got that we got the loaded St. Louis district again this year, right?
Yeah. It seems to be where we're going to be, us in Waynesville going northeast to St. Louis, and Kirkwood is going to host that. But the thing I've said to people is, we went 16-11 last year, which is a great year for where our basketball program's been, but we weren't able to get it done in districts. And so for us to really get to the level that we want to be, which is winning district championships, if we want to be at that level, we have to play people who are at that level. And this conference is going to force us to do that. And, it's kind of a sink or swim. You're going to learn how to compete with the best, or you're going to struggle. And we're excited for the opportunity. Now, not a lot of non-conference games with that. We've got our 3 tournaments, and then our non-conference games, we'll play Camdenton, Bolivar, and Marshfield, and tried to keep those as local as possible. As far as our personnel, we graduated 6 seniors last year, so that's another way we're in kind of a transition. That was a great group. Got to see them today, came in, watched practice. We had Caleb Ray and Cooper Berry, Corey Huff, Wyatt Carr, around the guys. And they were just so good. Kelby Vandergrift and Dylan didn't make it today, Dylan Russell. But that group was such a good group because they cared about each other. They loved basketball. They just represented what life was about for our program. And they're gone now, so we've got some guys with opportunities to step up. we returned Noah Boggs, who had a great year last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mason Huber, who came off the bench. Mason's a junior, Boggs is a senior. And those are the two guys that had a lot of varsity experience. So senior class, besides Noah Boggs, we've got Peyton Vandergriff, Kelby's brother, is playing this year. And then Bristol Burton, Brock Piercy. Oh gosh, I'm putting myself on the spot here, trying to remember six. We got 6 seniors again. And, they're good ones. Blake Kaufman, Nolan Fort. So a good group of seniors, and then some underclassmen that are really going to have to step up. And Coach Thornhill, Jeremy Thornhill's son, Noah, really good shooter for us. He'll have a good year. Uriah Jones, who's a junior. Antoine Givens, who came over from Waynesville last year, really good athlete, and then some underclassmen like Harrison Howe, Gavin Gottman, Jag Goforth, who are definitely vying for, fighting Ty Warson, fighting for varsity minutes. So it's going to be all hands on deck. We're really still trying to figure out, who the 10 guys are or whatever that give us the best chance to compete.
Sounds like you're going to be little Dennis Gates action, a lot of subbing, a lot of using the first of the season to really figure out and getting these kids, they're buying in. I mean, they understand it, right? They know that it's not, they can't be on the court every minute of every game. You would love to have a set that could do that, but you're going to be finding and filling in those holes. You mentioned 3 tournaments. So we got the Forsyth tournament next week, blue and gold traditional holiday tournament. And then what's the third?
The Bolivar tournament.
Okay. Mm-hmm. When is that one?
That one is like the last week of January. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, the 3 tournaments, you mentioned Dennis Gates, a lot of substitutions. That's something the fans are going to have to get used to because we are going to be subbing a lot frequently and a lot of people. So we're going to play more guys this year.
I don't want to get too far into it, but analytics is the buzzword in all sports right now.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys using that at a high level, medium level? Like, is that trickling down to high school sports?
Of course. We have Huddle, and we stat everything. And Huddle can give us almost every stat you can think of. But we do have specific stats that we look at. Our keys to winning are defense, rebounding, and efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And efficiency just kind of encompasses things like how well we take care of the ball, what our shooting percentage was, did we get the right shots, the kind of shots we want. But defense and rebounding is pretty self-explanatory. Did you force the shots that you wanted, and did you do a good job, cleaning up the glass? And we have defensive rebounding percentage goals, and we have offensive rebounding percentage goals. We have, total shot goals. We want to be in the plus margin of shots by comparison to our opponent and be plus by a certain number.
All right.
So yeah, we use analytics. Our kids know what our goals are going into every game, and they're not easily attainable. So like, we make them tough so that we're shooting high, and if we miss, hopefully we're missing pretty high. If they're easy to attain, then we don't feel like that standard bridges the gap in maybe explosiveness or verticality that we don't have as far as height and jumping ability and things like that. So we aim high and hopefully miss high in our analytic goals, and it's fun.
I'm excited. I think there's an energy around basketball. I think you're seeing hard work pay off. I know the kids are working as hard as they can. There's going to be bumps in the road, but it's I think going by that LIFE acronym and kind of what I have seen in the basketball team and just in the athletic department in general, there's something special going on right now. It just seems like things are clicking, and that, that experience of being a Yellowjacket is starting to really shine through. There's a lot of pride behind that. So I'm excited.
Well, I'm glad you said that because we have great leadership. Coach Christian is the best mentor you could ask for if you're a young coach especially like myself. And there's been lots of times me going into his office just to get advice. And he what I love about Coach C is he will tell you exactly what you need to hear, not exactly what you want.
Right.
Okay. And he'll be blunt and honest and kind of like he's a coach of coaches. He's a leader of men, and we're very fortunate as coaches to have his mentorship and leadership. And I think what you just said speaks a lot to him in that way.
All right, one last question.
Okay.
LeBron or Jordan?
Oh, how much longer do we have?
You got a minute.
Oh gosh, MJ, it's not even close. Okay, so if you're in the MJ LeBron debate, okay. And by the way, what are you?
I am a realist. It's 1 and 1A.
Okay, I like that. And I could get behind that.
I don't know. I'll tell you what my why. I think I ask you this now.
Okay.
You're
no. For context,
Okay.
I wanted to see where you were at before I gave my argument.
I am a Michael Jordan fan first and foremost, but LeBron is 1A, and the reason I say that is LeBron couldn't be LeBron without Jordan being Jordan.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Meaning Jordan is responsible for the off the court stuff.
Yeah.
The shoes,
Mm-hmm.
the brand, all of that. And that's not a slight at LeBron at all. I just don't think that if Jordan wouldn't have done it, that's the one thing LeBron can't overtake.
The brand. Yeah.
Is that side of it. And I'm a Jordan fan. I have sneakers, and I don't own a pair of LeBron sneakers, but
Yeah.
I just think I'm
wearing
when you
Jordans right now.
I noticed that right when you walked in. I don't think you can. I think that's the one hill that LeBron can't. I don't necessarily think it's championships. I don't think it's any of that, the longevity. But I want to hear your answer. You said Jordan. So
we actually just had this conversation on the way home from the football game. All my players wanted to debate with me because and I want to preface by saying everybody thinks that the best player in their era is the GOAT,
player,
is the
right.
greatest of all time, and so that goes without saying. But I was fortunate; I got to see from the time I was 6 through 8. I saw the second three-peat of MJ, and then I grew up watching Kobe Bryant, and I've grown up watching LeBron. So I've gotten to see all of them, and but the argument I always make is, which one's more important, the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball? And the answer is obvious. They're both equally important. You both have to score, and you have to stop the other team from scoring. And if I had to pick a player to do both, go score for me, and then come back down and stop the other team's best player from scoring, I mean, it would be an easy choice. It'd be Michael Jordan.
Unless it's the NBA Finals and LeBron.
The chase down block, but people forget about in Game 6 against the Jazz in '98.
The same
Karl Malone had the ball on the block, and Jordan went and stole it right before he hit the game winner.
that he may or may not have pushed off on. I got that poster in my office.
Let me ask you this: if you're trying to stay in front of Michael Jordan, how hard are you running back? So he's Byron Russell was just trying really hard. Now there might have been a little bit of a nudge, but
no, like I said, I think ultimately it's the NBA's job to show us exactly how good LeBron is. And I think the NBA fails at that, because who you think is the best or not, what we're witnessing with LeBron
is incredible.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how it can be topped. The other thing that
longevity wise, I'll say this from sorry to interrupt, but
right.
From a longevity wise, like statistical basis, he's very impressive. Where I get into who's the best is in the time frame that Michael Jordan played.
Mm-hmm.
It was just dominance.
Right.
He played 11 full seasons. Like he had the injury
right.
and the retirement year. If you take those two out, then 11 straight years he led the NBA in scoring. And then another stat I like to throw out to my LeBron lovers is, I think it's at the time he did this, it had only been done once in NBA history, but it was 100 steals and 200 blocks. We're talking about a shooting guard.
Right.
Okay. And he did it when he won Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm pretty sure it had only been done one time before that. Guess what he did the following year?
What?
He did it again.
He did it again.
Back-to-back years. And LeBron, like, talk defense, he's never recorded 100 steals or 200 blocks or 200 steals or 100 blocks by themselves in a single season.
Right.
So the defensive side of the thing, like, and defense is just so important to winning, and you learn that even more when you get into coaching.
The other thing for me that puts LeBron up there and where we can't even fathom the pressure, and not only like his expectations were here.
Mm-hmm.
They were way more than anyone ever had expectations, and he's exceeded those. And I think that starts to weight that other side. And you take an 18-year-old kid that has transcended the game and changed the way it is, and it's just insane. And I'm quite frankly, I'm fortunate that I got to watch them both.
Absolutely, me too. And the games are different. The 3-point line is a much bigger emphasis. The NBA took out the ability to guard in the paint.
Right.
Can't sit. When Jordan played, the paint was pretty well clogged up, and he had such a good mid-range game. Developed such a good mid-range game. I think because of that, you got the Jordan rules and the bad boy Pistons. And I like to joke with my players that nowadays, if you poke LeBron in the eye, you're ejected because they're going to go to the monitor. And but back then, if you threw a forearm shiver to Michael Jordan's throat and he landed on his head, it was like common foul.
Yeah, like big deal. Get
up, buddy. Go to the free throw line.
While he's still on the ground. But.
So it's different. The physicality is different. It's still a physical game, but definitely it's more offense oriented now than it was when Jordan played.
Well, next time we sit down and have one of these, I'll have another question for you to figure out your NBA fandom, because I'm just recently kind of getting back into it. I think the NBA Cup now, which was the in-season tournament last year, is ultimately going to propel the sport.
I think so too. Like a soccer style.
Right.
I
think now you're getting the casual fan in November to watch, and because there's like playoff baseball, playoff basketball, like playoff basketball, you can't beat just the intensity that happens. And so once you go back and you get that in December and January and, before the All-Star break. But I think they're even maybe changing the All-Star break this year.
They're going to do like a 4-team tournament. That'll be fun. That'll be cool. They're going to pick up teams too.
I just wish they could figure out the slam dunk contest. It's just terrible.
They just need to, I don't know how you do this, offer a bunch of money to the best players, but like
something.
We lose a lot from like the Michael Jordans and Kobe Bryants and Vince Carters not being in it anymore. Which, by the way, NBA fandom, I was always a big Kobe fan.
See, never.
And when he passed away, that was like the most shocking thing.
I never could get into Kobe. I've got a book. I've got his book, or the coffee table book my wife got me as there, but it just never. It was when I really wasn't at all NBA, like,
I don't think he was as physically gifted as Michael Jordan, but I think the work ethic and the mentality was. I mean, he was physically gifted too, don't get me wrong, but man, the work ethic and the mentality, I think, is what set his career apart, and just the killer instinct.
Yeah. He was fun to watch. I didn't really, I was a big Shaq fan. Obviously, I'm a bigger guy. Tried to model my game after that.
Probably the most dominant big man.
Yeah. So, well, Coach, I appreciate you sitting down and doing this.
It was fun, man.
I enjoyed it. It's a nice way to get to know you, get to know the team a little bit, and kind of understand what we're going to see when we stream. Keep that in mind. Again, our streams will start on Friday the 13th. Camdenton comes to town, the Highway 5 trophy, if there is one in basketball.
Yeah.
So
it's been in our trophy case for a while.
So we're gonna have that game, and we're gonna bring you some fun basketball content going forward, and we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to have interviews like this and get more involved with basketball. So I'm excited.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to talking more about our players. And I think it's good that people get a chance to know me, but much would rather talk about our guys and the work they're putting in. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, we're gonna do it. So,
all right.
Go Jackets.
Yeah, go Yellowjackets.
Finally, somebody said it like halfway right the first time. Thanks, Coach.
Hey, thank you.